Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zidane Ghifari, and I'm going to present about the topic data analytic with ECS. This presentation will discuss how we can build an end-to-end, efficient, and cost-effective business intelligence solution for a proof of concept or system testing environment. Next, before we dive into the infrastructure side, let's align our understanding of the difference between data analytic and artificial intelligence. As you can see on the screen, data analytic focuses on a descriptive and diagnostic approach. This means we use data to understand what happened in the past and what is happening right now. On the other hand, AI is more predictive and prescriptive, aiming to forecast what will happen in the future. For this project, our main focus will be entirely on data analytics. To run this analytic platform, we need a strong foundation, which is a reliable cloud computing service. This is where Alibaba Cloud's Elastic Compute Service, or ACS, comes into play. Why do we use ACS? Because ACS is an on-demand and highly scalable virtual server. We no longer need to invest in expensive physical hardware. With ECS, we can easily select specification like CPU and RAM according to our needs, and it comes equipped with robust network security controls. And next, to store our analytic data, we use MySQL or MySQL. This is the very popular open source relation database management. MySQL is ideal for storing structured data organized in rows and columns, such as historical sales records or use logs. We can easily use standard SQL queries to extract, manage, and manipulate this raw data. Now, raw data in the form of table usually difficult to interpret quickly. Therefore, we integrate Grafana because Grafana is powerful open source platform for data visualization. By connecting Grafana to MySQL database we set up earlier, we can design real-time interactive dashboard. Boring number and spreadsheet can be transformed into visually appealing and easy to read bar chart or time series graph. And next, when we combine these three components, we get a complete end-to-end solution. ACS act as underlying host or server. MySQL serves as the structured data storage, and Grafana provides the interactive visual interface. This combination is absolutely perfect for designing a prototype or a proof of concept POC for companies that want to explore data analytics without having to pay for expensive software license.
Masih anjing nggak kenal gue. Jatinegara goblok. Enggak nih.
Silence.
Jatinegara.
Silence, please silence. All right. Okay, next, to wrap up, the architecture we just discussed is excellent for testing and POC purpose.
Oh yeah.
However, if we want to deploy in this real world production scale environment, the architecture need to be upgraded. The best practice is to decouple the database from the compute instance. We highly recommend migration MySQL to a fully managed service like Alibaba Cloud. To achieve high availability, automatic failover, and automated backup, while keeping Grafana hosted on the ACS instance. That concludes my presentation on building a data analytic platform using Alibaba Cloud. Thank you so much for your attention, and now we are going to demonstrate how we do the ACS.
You can see this is the console of Alibaba Cloud. And at this moment of time, I'm at the console of Elastic Compute Service, ECS, which is a virtual computer, which is a service which we can use for creating virtual computers. Each computer is known as an instance. So to create a computer, a virtual computer, we can click on create instance first. Here I'll get options relating to the billing. I'll go for pay as you go so that it's a demo. We will just pay for per hour, depending on the specification. The region is Malaysia. I can select my network. I already have a network. I can select the data center here. So I'll go with a data center. We have 3 data centers in Malaysia. So I can see all the 3 options. Then we can go and select the instance type. In my case, I'm simply going with the general purpose. The first option is good enough. It has 2 virtual CPUs, 8 GB RAM. So we'll go with the basic instance here. Operating system, I'll be using Ubuntu. Good enough for us. Hard disk 40 GB, which is the default. I'm okay with that. Assign public IP address so that this instance is accessible over the internet. We will select a security group, which is already there. It's like a firewall, so it's already selected. We can configure different ports, but at the moment, I'm leaving it. We can assign a password for the login. So let me put in a password for the computer to log in later on. Need to verify the password. If it matches, I will not get any error. If it doesn't match, I will get an error. And now in the advanced setting, I'm going to give it a name. Maybe I call it data analytics. There's the name of the computer that we are going to create. The host name, I'll keep it just DA. And down there, there is an option of user data. Now, user data is a place where you can put a script depending on the operating system so that those software can be directly installed when the server is being spun up. So here I'm putting the script which is updating the packages and then installing Docker and enabling the Docker. Also, it is installing Apache and Docker Compose. I'll share all these script with you later on. So with all this, I'm done with the configuration of the computer, the virtual computer on Alibaba Cloud. And this is the first step, right? So it will take maybe a couple of minutes because under the hood, what is happening now? Under the hood, the computer is spinning up. It has 2 CPUs, 8 GB RAM, 40 GB hard disk, and Ubuntu is the operating system. So it's in the starting of operating system phase. But at the same time, we also put the script there, and that script will be used to install some of the packages like Docker, Apache, and it will also update the packages of the operating system for us as well. So this was our first step. Let me take you to the presentation to show you what's the next step. So here you can see we are done with the step number 1, which was related to the installation of ECS instance, launching of the ECS instance. And now the next step will be to log in into this instance and install MySQL and Grafana. So let's go and do that. Now there are many ways to do this. But it's a terminal for login. You can also directly log in from here to connect to the computer, but I usually prefer to go with the console. So I'll be using my console here to log in. If you are working with the Windows, you can use the PuTTY software. There are other tools as well. So let me go and connect my probably. Okay, so this is the terminal software. To log into the instance, all I need is to have the IP address, the public IP address, and the username and password. So I already set the password when I was configuring my ECS instance. Okay, we are already logged in, and you can see that this is the host name DA that we set during the configuration. Now, we did some installation, and I can simply check whether the Docker is installed. So yes, we can see that the Docker is installed. We can also see some of the directory for Apache that I'll do later on. So what I need to do now, I need to make a directory here for installing all my software. So I can simply use, this is a Linux command for making a folder or a directory. I may call it demo, and I'll go to the directory. Here, I will make a simple file, the Docker compose file, a YAML file, so that we can install everything in the form of a Docker container. Now, this configuration is needed one time. I will share all the script with you, so you don't need to execute it again. It's just needed once. So let me go with the file. I'm creating a new file here, and I may call it like docker-compose.yaml, the YAML file. And I already have a script for it. So let me take that script and use it here. I'll walk you through that in a simple way. Okay, so basically the script is used to install some Docker. So one of the software is related to MySQL. It will install MySQL software. It will create some password for it. And later on, it will also install Grafana. One thing I need to do is to put the public IP address of my ECS instance to make the configuration easy. And for that, what I will do, I will simply go to ECS console and copy the public IP address and replace it in the script. This is all I need to do. Here. The 3000 port is the default port for Grafana. Okay, so we are done. Let me save this file with Control X. Yes, and then enter. So we have the file now, and it's here. I can use it to spin up all my Dockers related to MySQL and Grafana. Now to do it, I will execute one command here, that is docker-compose, and then up -d, and that's it. So what's happening under the hood now? Under the hood on this server that I just created in front of you, we are basically installing database MySQL. For the first time, it is not available on the local drive, so it will pull this from the Docker Hub, which it's currently doing, and it will spin up a container out of it. After that, it will pull up the Grafana container from the GitHub because it's not locally available, and it will install it here. So there will be two Docker containers running. The first one is already finished. The second one, it is going to pull the data again. Now, if I run this command again, it will not take time. Why? Because all these images will be stored on the local computer of the on the local ECS block storage. So we will not need to pull it again. So it's a one-time activity. Okay, so it's now trying to create the containers. Probably this is done. Let me clear the screen and let's check whether the containers are running or not. Yes, so the two containers are running. One is MySQL version 8 and the other is Grafana. So how to use them? Okay, it's very easy now. That was one-time configuration, as I mentioned earlier. Now to use them, I need to go to a browser and simply put the public IP address that is here of the ECS instance. Sorry, the public one. And I'll put 3000 port because I want to access Grafana, the visualization tool. So it's up and running on the ECS instance that we just created. Once it is done, it will show me the graphical interface will show me to log in. So yes, I think I'm already logged in. Let me log out from here. Yes, so this is the default page. And the default password for Grafana is admin. So when I log in, it will ask me to change the, yeah, let me go with the admin. Okay, so this is the default one. It will ask me to provide the new password. I'm going to provide a new password. It will ask to confirm that password as well. Okay, so we are done. This is the interface that is now running for, this is the visualization interface of Grafana, which is running on the ECS instance. We will do visualization later on this. Now, let me take you to the presentation to show you what we have done so far. Okay, so in our lab or in our demo, basically we did this part. launch the ECS instance, then we log in, and I executed a few scripts. Don't worry, I will share that with you. It's a one-time exercise. So we are done with that. And I showed you that now we can access Grafana directly on the browser. So the next step is to access database, MySQL DB, because we installed them together. So you can see Grafana the same way I can access the database as well. And to access this, again, there are multiple ways, but I will use dbeaver. There are many tools that you can use. You can also log on to the container directly from the command line, but I'll make it simple. So I will use dbeaver, which is a free software, to log into the database. Okay, so this is the software. You can later download and install it for yourself if you want to connect to database. And to do that, I have to create a connection first. So the database that I'm using is MySQL. Please remember, dbeaver can be used with many different databases. So it's a free tool, can be used with a lot of other databases as well. For our case, I'm going with MySQL. And to log into MySQL, I have to give them the credential for the login. Those credentials were there when I was installing those packages. So we did install those packages here. Yeah, so I have to give the details when I was spinning up this container. I have to set the password there. Let me do that. So the first thing it need is the public IP address where the database is running. It's the same as ECS public IP. So I'm going to copy this one more time. The local host should be replaced with that. Okay. Port is the same, that is 3306 for MySQL database. It's 3000 3000 for Grafana, but for this one, it's 330. We'll keep it default. Now, when I was creating that MySQL through the script, I had a database with the name dbtest. And then I also had a password for the root in that script. I hope I remember it properly. So if everything is okay and I test the connection, it will connect. Okay, I'm getting this error like public key retrieval is not allowed. So probably I have to adjust some setting here. There is a allow public key field. It is set to false. Let me set it to true and try one more time. Okay, so it says that the DB test is not available, meaning that I need to change the database. I have to go with the proper database name. I can show you where I set it. Probably it was testdb. Yeah, it's connected this time. Now, where these credentials were, let me show you where I got these credentials. And first, let me finish this. All these credentials were set here when I was spinning up this instance, when I was setting this YAML file. I can show you now. So here you can see that I set the password for the root, and this was the database that I set during the creation of the container. So the YAML file will spin up and take this password directly from here. So we have to remember this to connect to the database, which we already did here. Okay, so now we are connected to the database, and we can see that I think probably I have many database connectivities here, and I have to be careful with the one. And to do that, I need to check the public IP address to make sure that I'm connected to the right database. Yeah, probably this is the right one. Yeah, and we have a database with the name testdb, which is already there. So what we can do here now, I can create maybe a new SQL query to interact with this database. Better I delete these so that they are not confusing us here. Okay, so let's go and create the SQL script. Now, this is the place where we can create and interact with the database. I can run SQL queries here. So for example, let's try to connect to this database, which is the testdb. So it's very simple. I'll simply use SQL statement like use testdb, and I'll execute it. So that will make me to connect to the database. Now let's create a table, a simple table for our data analysis. So the first table I'm going to create will be related to the sales data. This is a dummy data. So the table name will be sales, and it has 3 columns. One is the Okay, in fact, 4. So one is the ID, another is date, and another is product and amount. And this is known as the schema. It's a structured data. So we are fixing the schema first. So once I execute it, okay, it says that it already exists. So probably I'm connected to the wrong database, maybe the wrong one. Okay, let me see whether it has the data or not. Yeah, so the sales data is there, the sales table is there, and I can see what is inside it. So okay, so we already have some data available. And the reason being that I'm connected to a wrong database. Probably, let me remove this one. Yeah, I think this is the one that I need to come up with. Okay, let me delete this one so that we are not connecting to the wrong database or the wrong server. Okay, so this is the one. I'm going to check the IP address again. Yeah, 115. This is 15. Okay, so I think this is the wrong one. So maybe I just delete this connection as well and create a new one. That will make things easy to understand, and we'll go from the scratch. Okay. So I'm repeating the same steps. I'm going to create a new connection. MySQL, and the host name should be the public IP here for the instance where the database is running, the Docker container is running, and the database was testDB, if I'm not mistaken, and this was. So let's give it a try. Okay, now we are connected. This is the right database. So this time, if I want to run this query, you see, okay, we don't have active connection. Let me see there. And I will use the database. DB. Okay, let me see. The connection. So test connection. Okay, connected. Okay, and now yes, so let's go and see what is inside there. It's a little bit strange. Let me close and open this one more time. Okay, so connection, MySQL. Okay, and then okay, so finish, and we are here. Okay, I'm getting some error. This is really strange. Okay, I have another way also to do that if it's not working here. Okay, let's do it directly from the console because that was the easiest way I was going in. If it's not working, I don't know due to certain reasons. So let's try it another way. And then the second way will be to go to this container directly and create the data for us. So to log into the container, I can, this will be more like a way of doing it on the console, but I can do that. So I'm onto the database directly. Instead of the graphical interface, I'm using the console. And here, let me see the databases now. Okay, so we have the test DB here. And let's see the tables. Yeah, so there are no tables available here. Let's create a table with the name sales that I was trying to create there on the dbeaver. So let me create it here. I'm putting the same script with the same schema, and let's execute it. So the table has been created. Let's insert some value into the table. I was avoiding this way because this would be much more like a console. I was making it graphical, but anyways, let's do it this way. So if I want to see the data in my table, okay, so this is the data. Now, this is the dummy data, but of course we will use it to analyze it. And if you see here, you will be able to see that there are some kind of wrong values, like headphone amount is minus, which is a mistake. Similarly, for the laptop, there is some missing value. So we can do data analytics directly here. What we can do, we can delete some of the entries. Like for example, we know that this is a wrong entry, we can delete it. We can also delete this entry because there is no amount for that. So again, that's like the data analysis simple part. So let's go and delete the first entry, which is related to the null value. So if I want to delete this one, okay, it is just delete from sales where amount is null. So this value will be deleted. We can see it now. You see it's gone. Likewise, I can delete the entry which is having zero amount, less than zero amount, for example, the negative values. Okay, so there's done. And if we see here, yeah, all those wrong entries are gone. So this is like a sort of simple way to do some data analytics using SQL, MySQL SQL queries directly. Okay, so now what we have done, let me take you back to the presentation. So this is what we have done so far. We launched ECS instance, we installed MySQL Grafana, and I inserted sample data into the database. I tried it through dbeaver. It should work, but anyways, in our case, I moved to the CLI and I directly logged into the container and then put the data there. And I also did some kind of data analysis here. So now at this moment of time, if we see this is the data, this was the original data in the database, but there were some wrong values, so we corrected them, and now we have a neat and clean table. So what's the next step? The next step is to connect this to Grafana. So this data, we will take it to Grafana for visualization. And to do that, let's go to the Grafana interface, which is running here. Now, to connect Grafana to the database, we have to go to connections. There are data sources. And you will see that Grafana has a lot of different data sources which it can fetch the data from. But in our case, we are using MySQL. So I'll type MySQL and it will ask me for the credential to connect to the database. I can give it any name, so let's keep it that way. Here it's asking for the host URL. Now, Grafana and database MySQL are running on the same server, on the same ECS instance. So I will simply take it as a local host and connect to that server, and the database name here is the, for that one, let me take it and see on the container side. So let me exit from here, and the name should come from here. In this case, the name is MySQL-DB. So I'll provide that name, which is MySQL-DB. It can be DB. Yeah, let me say test DB, DB test. The username, I can go with the root and the password for. So these are all the credentials for the database. If everything is okay, it should work here. Let me see again. So localhost, okay, and then the, I think it should be the, let me take the name of the database from here. So that is MySQL-DB. Okay, that's the container name. And if everything is okay, I should connect here, and let me check one more time. I think probably this is testDB, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, let's give it a try. Yes, perfect. So now what is happening? This Grafana is connected to the database where we already have entries. So we will be able to see these entries on the Grafana now. How to do that? We are successfully connected. So I can go and click on build dashboard. And there is an option of add visualization. So if I go to add visualization, this is the source, meaning that this is the database which is running there, which is the data. And the data set there is testDB. The table name, if you remember, was sales. And we have different columns there, which we have the date, ID, and product column. Let me select all for the first time and run the query, and you will be able to see the data here. So now what we did, we are successful to fetch the data from the database onto the Grafana. Now, this is the place where you can do all sort of visualization. So if I want to go with, let's say, some time series chart, I can click on it, and it's going to give me the visualization of the data that is there. I can change the, let's say, the graph maybe to bar chart. So you can see this is all the data that is available there. We have these entries, right, in the data with 12,000, 8,000, and 600 that we put there. So this is all about this. And at the same time, you can change it to time series. You can play with different parameters, right? You can explore it. This has a lot of parameters. You can go to, let's say, maybe change the format, like to see the trends for the data that you have. You can also add some sort of opacity to that. But anyways, now, once you are done with this, we can save the dashboard. And we can give it a name. And yes, this is saved. I can close this. And it's available here. I can change the name of it, and I can see like what is happening. We can do a lot of editing here. But one interesting thing that is available on this dashboard is share. So if you look at the share part, there is a share embed. And share embed is going to give you a link. And this link can help you to integrate this data onto your web application as well. So if I copy this link and go back to this server that I have, there's a Apache server running here. Let me see whether it's running or not. So to see the Apache, probably the best way is to copy the public IP address and put it here. Yeah, so the Apache is running. I can take that data and paste it here on the web page. So let me try that. I'm going to remove that index.html and then create a new one. Of course, this will be gone now. And let's try to see whether I'm pasting that link. I simply copy from the Grafana dashboard and paste it here. If you go to this page, okay, let me see that. Yeah, probably I'm on the wrong server. Probably I'm on the wrong server. Okay, let me see this. Yeah, I'm going to remove this and let's create a new one. And I'm going to copy this link from here and simply paste it. Yeah. So you can see that now their dashboard is their data can be brought onto this server. I already did it for before the start of the session. I already did it. I'll show you that one, but you can see that the data is displayed here. So what we did in this short time, in this short period of time, we started with 0. And let me take you to the presentation one more time. So we started with nothing, we have nothing, and we first started, we launched an ECS instance, which is a simple computer on Alibaba Cloud. We installed MySQL and Grafana on that computer, then we connect to the database. There are many ways to connect to the database. I use CLI to connect to it, and then I created one table, did some data analysis, inserted the data, did some data analysis, and then I use Grafana to connect to that database. And finally, we created a dashboard, and we link that dashboard also to the website. And all of them are running on one server. Grafana is also running on this same server. The web page is also running on the same server. And database is also running on the same server that you can see here. Okay, so yes, this was the demo that I was interested to share with you today. How we can effectively use Alibaba Cloud ECS instance to have a simple demonstration as a proof of concept for the data analytics. So we started everything from 0, and we are now successful. We have the 2 open source software, like the database MySQL running on the same ECS instance. We have Grafana, which is a visualization software running on the same server ECS instance, and then we have web page running on them. And this web page is basically fetching the data from the Grafana, and Grafana is fetching the data from the database. Okay, so yeah, that's all for today's session. Now I'm open to the.
Okay, guys, thank you for listening. I'm sorry if the demonstration was not me who demonstrate the implementation because I cannot afford the server in Alibaba Cloud. Thank you. Kurang lebih mohon maaf. Bila bisa, bila Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.